When do you get prime? Are these factoring?
Oh, it's plus, so it is prime.
Everybody go like this. There's a big fat plus between these. Plus. We are adding. Plus. It's not prime. So 1m squared n plus 2m squared n gives you 3m squared n. Confidence, girl, confidence. 2mn plus 3mn gives you 5mn. And so that's why we're reviewing this. We don't change the exponents, right? When we add, the exponents don't change. So on this one, I have negative 3 plus 6 gives me 3n cubed. So when we add, the exponents don't change. Okay? So what is in between these two parentheses? Minus, my friends, minus. We are subtracting. So 1m squared n minus 2m squared n. What's 1 minus 2? Negative 1. So negative m squared n. 2mn minus 3mn. So 2 minus 3 is negative mn. And then negative 3n to the third minus 6n to the third. So minus 3 minus 6 gives you negative 9n cubed. We just did that on Monday. Monday. Like Monday, as in day before yesterday. Greatest common factor. So what number can I divide 4, 6, and 8 by? 2. So if I divide by 2, now I have a 3, a 2, and a 1. So it's the smallest exponent. 1, so I'm dividing all of these by x. So I get 2x times 2x squared plus 3x plus 4. X squared minus 4, what is that? Let's not. If you don't know, let's not. X plus 2 and x, because it's a perfect square. What about the next one? Prime, because adding. But if I change it to subtraction, you get 3x plus 5. Perfect. Okay? All right. Okay, so today we're going to factor trinomials. So let's start. This is a binomial times a binomial. So if I take x times x, I get x squared. X times a minus 3, I get minus 3x. 4x, so I get plus 4x. And then plus 4 times minus 3 is negative 12. And when I combine the middle two, I get x squared plus x minus 12. So let's look at what I did. So to get from here to here, I took x times x, and that gave me the x squared. I took the 4 times the negative 3, and that gave me the negative 12. And then I did this. I took 4 times x, which was 4x, and then I subtracted 3x, so I get a positive 1x. So if I did that on the next one, the first times the first is going to give me x squared. The negative 5 times the negative 2 gives me positive 10, all the way at the end. And now I need the middle. So I have minus 5 minus 2, and that gives me negative 7x. Pardon? I am. So I take negative 5 times x and negative 2 times x. Okay? So this is what I want you to know. First of all, this is written in standard form. That's written in standard form. And so this was in standard form right here, and this is in standard form right there. And my a is the number that's in front of x squared. And my b is the number that's in front of x. And my c is the number that doesn't have a variable at all. So if I had this, I'd have 3x squared plus 4x plus 5. What's the a value? And the b? And the c? 5. So today, what we're going to do is we're going to multiply. And I'm always going to say take a times c. So if I took a times c in this case, it would be 15. And that's all I'm doing. I'm literally multiplying the numbers from the trinomial. So let's look. So what I want to do when I factor is I'm going to draw myself a little T-chart. On this side of the T-chart, on the left-hand side, I'm going to write down a times c. So a times c, what is my a this time? It's just a 1, right? Because it's the number in front of the x squared. So a times c is 32. And in this column, I want my b value. What is my b value? 12. So here's what I want. I want factors of 32 that multiply to make 32. So on this side, it has to multiply. But on this side, it's either going to add or subtract. So if I think about my factors of 32, I get 2 and 16. Does that add or subtract to 12? No. What else do I have for 32? 8 and 4. If I pick 8 and 4, does that add to 12? So I want 8 and 4. And this is how we're going to write it. Both of these have to be positive to add to positive 12, right? So when I write this, I'm going to have x plus 8 and x plus 4. So on the next one, on number 2, when I do my a times c, what do I get? Negative 42. And my b? So I want factors that multiply and make a negative 42, but add and make a negative 11. So I'll give you a hint, it's 14 and 3. You're welcome. So if I have 14 and 3, now look, I need these to multiply together to make negative 42. Does 14 times 3 equal negative 42? It doesn't. So I'm going to look at this side. I need a negative 11. So which one of these numbers has to be negative for when I add them together to make a negative 11? The 14 has to be negative, right? So when I write the answer, I get x minus 14 times x plus 3. So the first one, they were both positive. The second one, we had one positive and one negative. On the third one, a times c is 63 and b is negative 16. So I want factors that multiply to 63 but add to 16. I'm say it's crickets in here. Y'all need to learn your multiplication facts. 9 and 7. So if I put 9 and 7 down, if I add 9 and 7 together, I get positive 16. But 9 times 7 equals a positive 63. Is there something else I can do? So if they're both negative, that's negative 16, and a negative times a negative is positive 63. Michael, you close your eyes one more time. I'm going to change a grade to a 0 because I just saw you guys have to run after school today. That's what Coach Quillian told me. I'm changing something to a 0. Do you have a 0 in any of your classes?
Well, we have to like
Oh, and that's in as a 0. And you haven't done yours?
I'm on page 40.
But you're not, it's still 0. Oh, that's so sad. Zach, do you have any zeros? You don't have any zeros? But you're not sleeping, so I'm not changing any of yours to zeros. But yours, I'll change. You were just a minute ago. Like, this doesn't trick me. I know you're asleep. All right. So look at number 4. Look at number 4. Is there a greatest common factor? What is it? 3. So I have to start by dividing by 3. But 24, yeah. So I needed the greatest common factor has to be in my answer. So my A times C now is 24, and my B is 11. Come on. 8 and 3, thank you. So we get 8 and 3. What's different with number 5? There's no B, but what does this look like? It looks like a perfect square, so how do I factor that? So those are the easy ones, right? You want to notice those. There's no B. That's easy to factor. So number 6, greatest common factor is 2. So I'm going to have a 2 in my answer. So A times C is negative 48, and B is 2. So I want factors of 48 that add to positive 2. So what's going to happen, though? 8 and 6. It's going to be a negative 6. So x plus 8 and x minus 6. And the last one, if I divide by 3, so I get negative 6, negative 1. So what's going to multiply to equal negative 6 but add to negative 1? Wait, say that again? Negative 3 and positive 2. So somebody in my last class asked, does it matter if it's like negative 2, positive 3? It does, because that changes what's negative in the middle, right? You have to have the right one. Good job.